This is a drawing of what we saw at our March 1st, 1985 sighting. This was towards the end of the sighting when we both saw this large wake swimming towards the Golden Gate at the end at a fairly rapid pace. This was about 100 yards offshore, and we watched this for quite some time. This is a drawing from December 19th, 2006, when we saw the animal leaning up against buoy X. At first, we didn't even realize it was the animal until it lunged down into the water later on. And as this is what kind of like what it looked like at first, and then as Bob was watching it, he saw it lunge forward into the water. And that's when we realized that it wasn't a painted stripe on the buoy, but was actually one of the animals leaning up against the buoy. The animal must have been leaning up on the buoy for at least 15 minutes because we saw it the whole time on the buoy and didn't realize what it was. This is what Bob saw through his binoculars at our last sighting on February 19th, 2009. This is when the sea serpent popped up right in his field of vision, and he got a great look at the animal at that time. He got a good look at the head and could see the jowls real clearly, and an arch behind the upper neck, upper body area, and the head. This is a sketch which Tisa Walton did of her sighting in 1985, in which she saw the head and the upper body stick straight up, followed by two arches. She was driving along the bay with some friends when she saw this. This is a sketch Marlene Martin did for us of her when she had the Stenson Beach sighting and she saw the animal raise its head and upper body several feet up out of the water and swish around. This is when she saw the animal open up its mouth and saw rows of teeth, sharp pointed teeth, upper and lower jaws, and she also described the eye as being a fully red color that she couldn't quite describe. She told us she wasn't an artist, so this is the best she could do. But I think it shows the flat head, the flat snout, and the teeth of the animal pretty good. This is a photo of the submerged rocky ledge after the water had gotten a little bit lower. The three main rocks in the middle there are the rocks that the animal crashed into. So these are pretty big boulders there. This is a photograph of Bill standing on the submerged rocky ledge next to the three boulders. So you get an idea of the size of those boulders and how wide that rocky ledge is there. That's approximately where, well, that is where we saw the animal. This photo was taken while Bob was standing on the edge of the seawall. So you can see it's very close to the seawall. It's really big near the wall at the parking lot by St. Francis Yacht Club. This is where we've had a lot of sightings, and this is where there's a wall here, and the water goes down, and we think that this animal traps sea lions along this wall and then just runs them down to Stone Tower Point. You can see how close the buoy B is to the wall. This is the view from the front seat of our car where we had our first sighting. You can see how close the seawall was to our car. The water during the first sighting was higher at that time, and it was actually looking like it was coming over the seawall. But you can see how close we are. There wasn't much room. We were about 10 yards away from the seawall. This is a drawing Bill did, which took place during our first sighting on February 5th, 1985, when the sea serpent crashed into the rock and lifted its midsection up out of the water and corkscrewed back into the deeper water. It's not exact, but it gives you an idea that this is where Bill saw two fins here, and the scales were hexagonal, and it had a padded leathery underbelly. And Bob saw come out of the water to the seawall, and that's when he saw the thing unfold. But you can see how close it was to us. And the water was right at the top of the seawall that day. And that day the water was calm as a mirror, and the sun was coming up behind us. And the upper body of the animal was black, but the midsection had this green, beautiful color to it. I'm not really seeing the iridescence of it. It was really a beautiful green. This is another drawing Bill did from the first sighting. This was before the animal crashed into the rocks, and what we saw was the first arch on the left surface above the water, and then it was quickly followed by the second arch on the right. It hung up there for a few seconds, exposing both arches, and then they went down. And then the midsection crashed into the rocks. This